Hi, today Beanie and I are going to walk you through how I do my commission paintings. Oh my, Beanie. I know, oh my God, someone's walking by. We'll be right back. Okay, the thread is over. So I wanted to go through how I make my commissions. Maybe that'd be helpful for you if you're an artist and you're curious how other artists work. Or maybe you're somebody who would like to get a commission done. So the process usually starts out with someone reaching out because they want a painting. I have found that most of the commissions I do these days are of dogs and cats. I have done a lot of portraits of children, but these days it's those dogs and cats. They're usually small sizes because most people don't have a huge budget for paintings. So one of the reasons I offer these really small commissions is so that they're affordable. I used to do a lot of paintings on these mounted wood panels. This is an example. My favorite one was by Cheap Joe's, which was all wood. This one has a panel attached to it, but Cheap Joe's went out of business, so this is for a commission that I'll be working on, and you're going to see the process as I go through working on this one. My favorite surface these days to do commission portraits are all hardboard panels. I love to do 5x7s, and but they come in all kinds of sizes. So this is by Ampersand. It's a hardboard. You can buy them at your local art store. There's other brands that make them. You can even go to a hardware store and get a similar hardboard and have it cut down to size. And one of the reasons I love them is they are standard sizes, so they fit in photo frames, which makes it really easy for people to frame their art that they get. The other reason I love it is it's so much cheaper to ship. They're very light. This client is a friend, an old friend, and they wanted me to do a painting on the same format that I made some other pet portraits for them on. So I found this, even though it's not exactly the same as the Cheap Joe's, this is what I have to work with. So the first thing I did was gesso it, and I like to gesso a couple layers and sand in between so it's relatively smooth and doesn't have the ridges of brush strokes that are too pronounced. The next thing I'm going to do is go through the photos that they submitted and choose the one that I think will work best. So there's a couple factors I consider, like the shape of this panel. So it's a square. It needs to be a composition that's going to look good in a square as opposed to a rectangle. And I'm also looking at, since I don't know the dog, I've never met the dog, I'm looking at for the photo that best represents the dog in that there's good shading, so I can see the shading and the colors of the dog really well, and that there's not a lot of distortion from most of the photos we take now are on our cell phones, and there can be a distortion of perspective that happens with cell phone pictures. And I think we don't notice it as much when it's a cell phone photo, but when it turns into a painting, it can become really noticeable. So those are the things that I look for. The next step is I generally do a grid when I do commissions. So this is not a commission, but it's a painting it's a portrait that I'm working on. And because of the angle of her face, it's kind of an awkward angle, which can be difficult to draw. I'm perfectly capable of drawing portraits from hand, but when you're working on projects like this, it saves a lot of time to do it by grid. It just gets you immediately where you need to be. And since likeness is so important with commissions, it just makes it a lot easier. So I might do different sizes of grids depending on what I'm working with. Depending on how much detail I need to capture, the grid might become smaller. Since this is a 6-inch square panel, I like to go into Canva and create a 6-inch square image to work with. And I'm old school. I don't know how to record a screen, so we're gonna do it like this. I'm gonna create my size. I'm gonna fill all that in, and then I'll meet you on the other side. I have my 6-inch square here. I'm gonna put in the picture that I chose, which is this one. What a cutie! But you can see the photo is a rectangle, and I want to convert it into a square, but I also don't want the ears to be right on the edge like they are in the photo. So I'm going to play around with this for a little while. This is also a great time to adjust colors if you feel like the photo is too washed out, or you want to darken it or lighten it a little bit. One of the hardest parts about this for me is deciding what the background should look like. So I have to think about what I want to include, if it's going to just be a solid color or if there's going to be some background cues, or if I can simplify the background. It's quite a while later and I have done the sketch. If you can still kind of see the faint grid marks, some not so faint. And then the next step will be to paint. And I'm going to see if I can do a time lapse of that process so you can see it. I've put out my full palette. I won't probably need all of these colors for this painting. I hope to move from this painting into a couple other paintings that I have going. So I'm just going to show you what paints I use. I have titanium white, cadmium yellow light, and cadmium yellow medium. Cadmium red light, and this is my first time using cadmium free red, so it's more similar to the red light than I would like, but we'll see how it goes. Raw sienna, burnt sienna, ultramarine blue, cerulean blue. Over here I have, this is how I make my blacks and my really dark darks. I use phthalo blue, alizarin crimson, and burnt umber. For my solvent, I kind of move back and forth through different things. I think today I'm gonna try the Gamblin solvent-free gel, which is safflower oil-based medium. It's pretty cold out today, so I don't want to open my window, and this is safer to work with than what I often work with, which is liquid is my preferred medium because I like to work wet on wet. It does speed up drying. I did go through a period of time where I was using Gamsol mixed with, was it Stand Oil? And I liked it. I also like to use Gamsol by itself when I'm out plein air painting. And then I've also tried Galkid Light, which I just don't like as much. I can't remember why now, why I didn't like it as much as I like liquid. These do have an odor, and they are a solvent. So when I use either of these, or of course the Gamsol, which is an odorless mineral spirit, but still not good to breathe in and be around for a long period of time. So I make sure that I have my air purifier going and crack a window if I can. Sometimes I'll also put a fan that blows across my working surface towards the window to try to keep the fumes from being like right in my face the whole time. Palettes are just so beautiful, aren't they? Beanie is reluctantly here to reveal the final painting. I didn't do a time lapse of the whole thing because, it's very distracting, and I just wanted to be able to focus on moving however I wanted and getting in the way of the camera and not being, not thinking about how the time lapse will turn out. So Beanie, shall we reveal it? Okay. I'm going to show it to Beanie first. What do you think? She's not impressed. Here's the final version, I think. Sometimes I have to sit with it for a little while and see how it sits with me to see if it's finally finished. I did show it to my friend who commissioned it, and she was happy with it. So after this, I'll sit with it for a little while, and if I want to go back in and make adjustments, I will. And then I have to let it dry, and then I will varnish it, and I'll paint the edges to match their other paintings that they have for me. And it's dark out, and I have interior lighting, so it's gonna look a little yellow. Here's the palette after painting. These are stink bug footprints. We have stink bugs here in the south, and we have them in our house. So sorry to that stink bug, but this is the palette after finishing that painting.